Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Dissent, the podcast where creators challenge the narrative and boldly speak truth to power. Dissent isn't just disagreement, it's democracy in action. I'm Amy Zellmer, author, activist, and an unapologetic truth teller. This is a space for creators and activists who stand in opposition to MAGA extremism and the forces trying to silence us. If you are someone who wants to resist injustice, this podcast is for you. Here, we say the quiet parts out loud. No censorship, no sugarcoating, just raw, unfiltered truth. So let's get into it. Today, my guest is Clarkson Lawson, and we're going to be talking about his journey leaving MAGA and going to more moderate politics. Clarkson is a digital creator known for bringing a nuance to some of today's most polarizing issues. With over 1 million followers across platforms, he has built a brand around honest commentary, independent thought, and breaking free from echo chambers. A former conservative commentator turned independent voice, Clarkson's content blends personal storytelling, political insight, and practical tools for critical thinking, making him a distinct and engaging presence in today's media landscape. Welcome, Clarkson. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So we met in July when I was in Tampa with the Unfuck America tour, and you and Mercedes are friends, and so we went to your apartment, and you made us do shots of Tito's.
Yep. Yeah, we met under very, we'll just say, fun
Yes,
circumstances.
yes.
That was a crazy night. But yeah,
Yeah, that was really fun.
for sure.
Yeah. So I remember when Mercedes was like, we're going to Clarkson Lawson's house. And I'm like, I know that name. And like I looked it up and I was following you and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to meet a creator that you followed forever. And
Oh,
yeah.
that's yeah. It doesn't feel like it's a very weird space for us creators because
Mm-hmm.
we feel very alone. You don't really meet any of your followers or your mutuals very often. So whenever you do get to, I really try to cherish those moments because it makes you
Yeah.
feel like you're actually working a job and like you're making an impact because it can feel very
Mm-hmm.
lonely at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is. And I have so many friends that like don't understand what I do. It's like you make videos, but why? And yeah, so it is. It's a really interesting field to be in, especially now.
Yeah, I mean, I always say I'm a content creator, and they're like, "Oh, so you do OnlyFans?" I'm like, "No,
Oh,
there's nothing wrong with OnlyFans, but no, I'm actually
right, right,
thinking about
right.
politics."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I occasionally get a message asking if I have an OnlyFans that they can support. I'm like, yeah, no, no, I
I'm like,
don't.
"Not yet, but if
Yeah,
things get rough, maybe."
yeah, yeah. I'm not opposed to it,
Yeah.
but yeah, not yet. I'm also 50. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a niche market for everything. So,
That was just the words out of my mouth, Amy.
oh, so let's talk a little bit about your journey. You are former MAGA, and it's only been in the last year or so, right, that you have gone more moderate?
I would say I started really, like, touting that I was an independent early 2024.
Hmm.
I started to see the Overton window shift a bit, and
Mm,
growing up, my family was very involved in politics, and I would always consider myself like a Reagan Republican, right?
hmm.
Limited government. I don't believe in government bailouts for people or for corporations. And those values aligned me with what I thought was the Republican Party. But as we both know, the Republican Party has dramatically shifted with
Yeah.
conservatism, and I saw that happening. So last year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start giving an analysis on the news where it's just moderate. It's bipartisan. I'm gonna look at both sides, and I'm gonna force myself to truly understand where everyone's coming from. And when I did that for about a year, that led me to change my vote to Kamala Harris because I was introduced to even more information. And obviously Republicans started to change dramatically very quickly. And that kind of threw a wrench in my brand. But I'm very glad that I did it and that I was honest with my followers when I did it.
Mm. What was that like for you, that shift? Because like you already had an established following. Um, so what was that like? Like what did you see? Like I know Mercedes has gotten just a lot of, clapback.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it was rough at first, but I'm not really the type to like ease into anything. I just kind of ripped the band-aid off. So I came out with it and people were very shocked. And I'm also very loud and a little
yeah.
bit arrogant sometimes. So I think me being so confident and when I was MAGA made people go, wait, how on earth did this guy switch up? Right? Because he comes off like he was diehard MAGA. And I like to say that even though I'm confident, I don't believe I'm always right. And I like
Mm,
to be very authentic on my social media. And I think that part of human authenticity is being able to show every part of you, even the parts that change very quickly. And that's what happened. And that's not really a forgiving thing on social media is to be able to say, hey, I changed my mind. I
mm,
dramatically shifted my personality as I grew up. The brand that I built is no longer the brand of who I am, and that's pretty messy, but you get through it.
hmm. Yeah. And you know, what what am I trying to say? So, like, how where do you see in your experience, where do you see the most like clapback coming from? Is it coming from the MAGA or is it coming from like the more left?
I think it depends on your algorithm.
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because mine's I used to think it was just all leftist, who are, nitpicking everything that people do, purity testing 24/7, and they
Hmm.
still are. But it really depends on your algorithm and the platform that you're on. Because if you go on Instagram, like I was just on Instagram in a comment section, and I was reading terribly homophobic, racist.
Yeah.
They're everywhere on there. But then you get on TikTok, and it's the other way, flipped.
Yes. Yes. They are
And I'm
so
like,
different.
yeah. So
And
I'm
Facebook.
Oh, I don't get on there, but I don't even wanna know what's going on there. Is it more like conservative leaning or left leaning on Facebook?
Ah. It's just different. I
Yeah,
can't even explain it. Like the comments that I got on Instagram versus TikTok versus Facebook, all the exact same content. It's just
yeah,
such different dynamics. It's just wild.
yeah, it's very different. So, I do think that the Overton window is shifting to the right. I do think that they're gonna go very extreme very soon. Um, they kinda already have, but I don't think that the left is done with I don't think that the left has fully learned the lesson as to how we got here.
Yeah.
And that's very frustrating for me to watch as somebody who, is more open to resisting the pendulum swing. But a lot of times people on the left will push people like me away because,
Mm-hmm.
I don't meet a certain metric of purity testing, which can be
Mm-hmm.
frustrating.
And let's talk about that for a minute because my eyes were not open to that
Yeah.
um until I became more involved with the Unfuck America tour and like seeing what happened with Mercedes and some of the other people on the tour. And it's like the left really is good at eating their own. The right stick together. They hone in on their messaging and they stick together, which I'm not saying their messaging is good. I'm just saying they're good at what they do. Like look at Charlie Kirk, right? Like prime example. Um, and the left is like, oh, like I'm gonna have you explain purity testing a little bit, just in case someone listening is like, what does that mean? Because it is kind of a newer buzzword, but like
Yeah.
it is like if you don't pass their purity test, you're not left enough.
Yeah, I think what they're essentially trying to do is scan the morality of everybody on their side,
Hmm.
without forgiveness. And I think that that's what it is. So they'll see, somebody has said maybe a racist comment in the past, or maybe it wasn't actually racist, but it's perceived as racist, but the
Or
intention
taken out of context.
context, right? And any type of accusation or anything that comes up from that is very unforgiving. And then they don't fit in, right? So then they don't say you're not well. They say you're not welcome here. We don't want to align with racist, which you know sounds good on paper because nobody wants to align with racist.
Right.
But the problem is that they're very unforgiving and it lacks the nuance that's necessary to take account for human nature and humanity. And I think that if you actually want to build a coalition and build power, you have to be able to extend some forgiveness to people. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And, I mean, going back to the election and, you know, it 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 was such an interesting election in that Biden obviously was running for reelection, and then there was
Mhm.
sort of the switch, and Kamala came in. And I mean, I think that messed up dynamics a little bit as well too, because people were, prepared to support him, and then all of a sudden it was her. And even within our own party, there was a lot of people that were like, they didn't want to support Kamala. I mean, it's just, we're a hot mess over here. And until we get our shit together, like, oh my gosh.
Well, honestly, it's just funny that we're having this conversation because I would say like 4 years ago when I started making content, this was the conversation the right was having.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now that I've been in the industry for long enough to be able to see the patterns that repeat themselves. So I don't like to share, doomsday because really I think this is just a product of politics. You get a little bit messy before you get organized, and then
Hmm.
eventually the left will organize, and maybe they'll organize too well to the point where they allow extremists to start to dictate policy in the same way that the right has.
Yeah. Right.
So it's hard, and I think as people who are dedicated to actually telling the truth and to making the world a better place, it's very important for us to watch those patterns and call out both sides, which is why I really proudly proclaim myself as a moderate because I know that in 10 years that'll stand the test of time rather than devoting myself to one side that could eventually get corrupted.
Yeah, that's an interesting viewpoint too. And I mean, and I never can remember the name of the dang book. Um, it's something like Don't Call the Elephant or something like that. But it was a fantastic book about how the right is excellent at messaging
Yeah.
and the left is terrible at messaging.
Yeah.
And it's so true, right? And the specific example I remember, because it was when it was all happening, was gay marriage. And they're like, stop calling it gay marriage because
Right.
gay is the trigger word for the right? So call it same-sex marriage. And um, yeah, we just can't get our messaging together in time, oftentimes.
I mean, they'll get there. I think, yeah, especially in the wake of what's happening now. I think Newsom is doing a really good job,
Mm.
a
Mm-hmm.
really, really good job, especially when it comes to courting people like me. Now I've never been a huge Newsom fan, but
Same.
and we probably maybe for even like entirely different reasons, most likely. But um, I I have to give it to him. He
Mm-hmm.
forcing a mass awakening of the type of politics that Donald Trump has brought in. And it's very interesting to watch, especially because I'm still friends with a lot of people who are on the MAGA side. And watching them react to Newsom and seeing their cognitive dissonance get shattered in real time when they're like, well, politicians shouldn't be acting like this. And I'm like,
I
I know.
know.
That's what I've been saying. And then like I had that conversation with my friend and he goes, you got me. And I'm like, whoa. Like, because that's a big deal. The minute you admit, like, oh, I was wrong, the floodgates kind of open. So if
Yeah.
he's doing that for some people that are moderates that maybe,
Yeah.
then I think he's going to be doing a lot of good in the for the upcoming election for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had Never Woke was on my last episode, and a big MAGA person, but he had come to our tour. And so I wanted to have a conversation with him about how when we have one-on-one conversations with the other party, like it is they're civil
Mhm.
versus on the internet. And he was talking about Newsom and he's like, what's up with Newsom? Like, is that supposed to be a joke? And I'm like, oh my God, you don't get the joke. Like, he's taking Trump's tweets word for word and like they're losing their shit over it. And it's like, but that was actually Trump's tweet.
Right.
You
And
know, like they
I mean,
can't see it. Like you said, the cognitive dissonance. It's like, wow.
yeah, but, like, in my case, it's like Newsom being able to crack jokes about, like, and calling people woke, like, that's the type of thing that
Yes.
on the left that I detest is just, like, over analyzing everything something says, over intellectualizing everything, and, I don't know who it was that quoted one of Newsom's tweets. I think it was Tommy Lahren, where he, like, he quoted Scott Presler, I think, and said something about him making fun of him. Scott Presler's a gay man, I'm not sure, I don't know if you know who he is.
Mm.
And Tommy Laren's like, "How dare you make fun of a gay man calling him a woman," or something like that. I don't know what Newsom did. And Newsom's account just responded, "You sound woke." And for me, I was like, this is grade A because we should be able to joke about the darker things. And I think for a very long time, the left has been so serious that it's hard to bring humor into it. And humor is really what attracts people. So I'm glad to see that that
Hmm.
cultural shift is happening.
Hmm. And like he's really bringing the receipts and talking about because obviously California had the national Los Angeles had the National Guard called in and he's calling out the actual statistics of like states that have worse crime than his, but they're red states, so nobody is doing anything about it. And I'm from Minneapolis, so we get trampled all the time for being a woke government, in Minnesota. Um, and it's like he's bringing the facts,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool.
It's nice to watch. I like to see this type.
Hmm. And he's articulate.
Yes. And he's good looking.
Yes. Yes, he's not
Which, like
bad.
it or not, that gets you far in life, and that gets you far
Yes.
in American politics. It really does, unfortunately,
Yes.
but
Um, Chelsea God's another creator I've had on here, and she's like she's like a comedian and does little skits, and she's
yeah.
like, we need to make presidents hot again.
I agree. I totally agree.
JFK.
Yeah, I wanna
Yeah.
enjoy watching their conversations. I don't wanna watch Trump just spaz out. It's getting annoying.
Yeah, 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 and the whole thing that just went on this past weekend, and like everybody speculating he was dead because he hadn't been seen in like 4 days.
Yeah, that was, it's funny because, people on the right were saying the same thing about Biden during his term whenever
Yes.
he would go away.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, he's dead," and I'm like, I guess you know what? Like, my perspective is that I don't think anybody actually thought he was dead, but they knew that
Yeah.
this would fix.
Yes.
So, it's social media. Like you said, it's different when we talk like this, but then on social media, civility doesn't really pay the bills.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we'll
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting to me is so I go to the right side of Instagram a lot, right? To find the content that I'm going to
Yeah,
stitch.
yeah.
And it's sometimes it just baffles me. They're like, so they make content about how the left slings insults at them. And I'm like, you guys are no better. Like, you're slinging the insults at us. I mean, like, it's like, how do we and I know this is like the $1 million question, but
Right.
how do we find some freaking common ground online? I mean, I get that it's the internet and it's easy to hide behind an avatar, and some of the accounts are bots or trolls, but a lot of them are legitimate accounts, you
Yeah.
know? Like I get called a fat ugly pig and then I go look at their picture and I'm like, "Oh, is this you, buddy? Like, come on."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think part of the discourse is just part of human nature.
Yeah.
and it's also a product of living in a democracy, if we're being honest. But I do think the vitriol will stop if we don't have a president that leads by an example. It
Yes.
was very different 20 years ago when
Yes.
Democrats were able to disagree at the dinner table and have discussions, but politics has turned into entertainment, and that's why I think that it lacks the substance, that it used to. And it's like politics should be boring. We should be bored.
Right, right.
We should be having
We shouldn't
conversation,
care that much. I
right?
mean, yeah.
Anybody who's involved in politics should be a nerd. But instead, it's like now it's becoming this, uh, I guess, chase for clicks and chase for people's attention because that's
Yep.
the economy that we live in.
Yep. Almost theatrics. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure it always has been a little bit theatrics because you have to manipulate public perception
Yeah.
and what politics is, but it's just gotten to a level that's crazy. But one thing I will say is that there's a there's a huge difference between taking on your politics as part of your identity and just aligning with a political party. And I think that what the left did, and I will place a little bit of blame on the left, is that they have incorporated so much identity into politics that when you hear somebody insult Democrats, it feels like a personal attack because you're like, well, I am a Democrat. That is me. But they
Right.
might actually be talking about you. Or, they've associated Democrats with being pro people of color and Republicans as anti that. So then now, whenever you insult Democrats, it makes you seem like a racist or vice versa.
Mm.
And I think if we took our identity out of these discussions, we would be able to be a lot less emotional and a lot more logical. But that's very hard to do because
Yeah.
it's become a community for people. I'm a conservative, MAGA, I mean, that's a community in and of itself. So it's going to be hard to clean up after Trump leaves, I think.
And I can't recall a president ever that, like, people wore swim trunks with their name on it and had pool floaties and t-shirts and I mean, of course, like, when a president's running, there's some propaganda that people wear, but, like, I never saw anyone wear Obama swim trunks, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
because
bikinis.
it's so I don't Trump is an entertainer. He's good at
Yes.
being an entertainer
Yes.
and building a community of fans and
Mhm.
followers and keeping people's attention. He's also I have to give him his credit. He's a genius at branding because anybody that
Yeah,
he disagrees with,
agreed.
he brands them as some vile name. And when it comes to branding, if you're able to do that, it's just to simplify his insult so his followers can now throw it at them. So it's like he's meant to be a reality TV star. That's what he's meant to
Mm,
be. He is not
mhm,
meant to be the president.
mhm.
And
And
it's saying that because
I honestly I think the first time he ran, I really don't think he was looking to win the presidency. I think he was honestly looking at just, like, it was marketing for himself.
maybe, yeah, I
And
don't
then
know.
he won and was like, "Oh, now what the hell do I do?"
I mean, honestly, 2016 Trump to me was very different than the
Uh-huh.
and I voted for him in 2016, I voted for him in 2020. And when I voted for him in 2016, that was the first election that I could actually vote in. I was 18. And what he represented then to me was like, oh, he's an outsider. And American
Mhm.
politics is
Yep.
it's
He was a
fucked.
businessman,
Businessman, he's an outsider.
he
Yeah.
wasn't a politician.
Right. And to a certain extent, that is a normal plus. Like I believe in term limits. I think that normal people should be in government. But what it turned into was that it wasn't that he was a businessman or just a normal person first, it's that he was an entertainer first.
Yeah.
Once I realized that, that's when I was like, hold on. He just lied about the election being stolen just to save face for PR purposes and to fundraise. Like
Mhm.
that is not okay. So
Mhm.
I think that's really the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
Mhm. Yeah. And you alluded to it earlier too, like the vitriol, and he has enabled people to just spew hate. He's made it okay to say things out loud that we shouldn't be saying to other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we recover from this. I like to think that we'll eventually bounce back, but it's kind of gross right now. And that is where Gavin Newsom is a breath of fresh air in that way too.
Yeah, I think Trump is representing what people have been wanting to say. Um, I think that, and again, I'm very in the middle, so I can place some blame on the left. I'll never excuse hateful speech,
Hmm.
but I think the purity testing has gotten people to a point where they're like, "Oh, you're calling me racist for not even actually being racist or whatever it might be." Okay. Well, now I'm just going to say some crazy hateful stuff that maybe I don't even mean, just because you're purity testing me, and that doesn't excuse it, but I think that does explain some of the cultural shifts. I think we'll go back. I really do. I think that we're going to crave a leader who is actually able to lead people, because I'm not a huge fan of Obama, but when you listen to him speak, or when you listen to any great leader speak who sets an example for people, um, it's hard to ignore. I think we just have to find
Hmm.
the right person to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I how old were you in 9/11?
Three.
Yeah, okay. Um and I was never a George Bush, George W. fan, but you know, he was a leader during that, right? And some people are probably going to hate me for saying this, but
Yeah.
like we felt comforted by him.
Right.
And I just couldn't see Trump
Being that.
bringing the country together after something like that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to be able to fight fire with fire, but you also have to be able to rise above it. And
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen Trump. He's had so many opportunities where really, like, even after 2016, he's had so many opportunities where he could have totally shocked the world. And if he would have just started to like turn it off, I think that his support would have skyrocketed. It's like it gets you into office, right? Maybe you have to fight fire with fire to win an election. Maybe that's the way it is. I don't believe that, but maybe. But if he would have gotten in and started to be a real leader, he would have been unstoppable. But instead, I don't know, maybe it's his ego that stops him from doing that. But I just haven't seen him rise above
Hmm.
like a leader should.
Hmm. And so what do you feel about so when his press conference was that just yesterday he had his press conference and he was asked about how people said he was dead and whatever. And he like he always flips everything about Biden
Uh-huh.
and like or Obama depending on what the situation is. He always flips it to one of those two and he never actually answers what he's being asked, right? Like what how do you view that? Like what is that to you?
I mean, I think that he knows what he's doing. He knows it's not,
Mm,
because, but the thing is his followers eat it up. The
yes.
Yeah, because I've had the conversations with them. I'm trying to think of an example. But it's like the minute it's like he sends out talking points and then they
Yeah.
start to flood. And if he says, well, Biden did this, and it's like, okay, but Biden's not president, and
Right.
you had a problem with it when Biden did it. So why is it okay when Trump did it? Because are we fighting fire with fire, or are we rising above it? Because then really, what is the point? Like, what is the point of
Mm-hmm.
politics if there is no higher ground people are aspiring to get to? And I think sometimes, especially with the things like redistricting, it's necessary for like people like Newsom to fight fire with fire. Uh, but in small cases like this, like his health, referring back to Biden really, it's just it's a waste of time, and like people like me are watching, and I'm like, ugh, like I'm looking for the party that's as genuine as possible to support, and it really turns me off.
Mm.
Really,
Yeah. It's just deflection too. Like
yeah, that's the word. I
he,
probably should use
yeah,
that.
he's the king of deflection for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Clarkson, this has been such a great conversation. I want to make sure we mention how people can find you.
Yeah,
You are on pretty much all the social channels, right? I know you're on Instagram, TikTok. You're not on Facebook, but
on Facebook.
you're on YouTube too.
Yes, yeah, I'm growing my YouTube channel. I can be found anywhere at Clarkson Lawson. I have been taking a little break for the last 2 weeks, just posting here and there, but I'm excited to get back into it, get back into the rat race.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing with our listeners and sharing your journey. I mean, it's not always easy to switch sides, right? And just sometimes the backlash that you can get for that. And so, thank you for opening up and talking about that.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you giving me a platform to share my story. It's been
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Unfiltered Dissent. If today's conversation resonated with you, please consider sharing this episode and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an update. And if you'd like to support the show and help amplify more dissent, join me over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Amy Zellmer. Your support helps keep these conversations unfiltered and unapologetic. And if you'd like to help support the Unfuck America tour, please use the Act Blue link in my show notes because it truly does take a village to support a tour like this. And of course, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Amy Zellmer for more of my content, conversations, and ways to get involved. Until next time, stay bold, stay loud, and never stop questioning the narrative because when we speak up, we don't just resist, we create change.